Is peace truly impossible?
Why have diplomatic efforts repeatedly stalled? Why do many analysts argue that as long as Vladimir Putin remains in power, a lasting settlement in Ukraine will remain out of reach?
This war is not just about territory.
It is about power, security, history, and how one leader views the world. To understand why negotiations seem so difficult, we need to go deeper. Putin's worldview. To understand the negotiation deadlock, we must first understand Putin's worldview.
For years, he has described
the collapse of the Soviet Union as the greatest geopolitical tragedy of the 20th century. In his perspective,
Russia lost influence, strategic depth,
and global prestige after 1991. From Moscow's point of view,
the expansion of NATO toward Eastern Europe was not merely defensive cooperation. It was perceived as strategic encroachment.
Ukraine, in this context, is not just a neighboring state. It is seen as a buffer zone, a critical space between Russia and the West.
When Kiev moved closer to Western institutions,
Moscow interpreted it as a red line being crossed. And when a leader views an issue as existential, compromise becomes extraordinarily difficult. Ukraine and historical identity. For many outside observers, this war appears geopolitical. For Putin, it also carries historical and cultural meaning. He has repeatedly argued that Russians and Ukrainians share deep historical roots. In Kremlin narratives, the two nations are intertwined by centuries of shared civilization. As Ukraine strengthened its independent political
identity and aligned more closely with Europe, Moscow viewed it not only as a strategic loss, but as a historical separation.
When negotiations involve identity and legacy, they move beyond pragmatic diplomacy.
They become symbolic.
And symbolic conflicts are among the hardest to resolve. Security logic versus sovereignty logic. At the heart of the conflict lies a fundamental clash of principles.
Russia speaks in terms of security guarantees and strategic balance.
Ukraine speaks in terms of sovereignty and self-determination. President Volodymyr Zelensky insists that Ukraine has the sovereign right to choose its alliances.
From Kiev's perspective, joining Western institutions is a matter of national choice.
From Moscow's perspective, it represents a direct security threat. When both sides believe their position is fundamentally justified, compromise narrows dramatically. Domestic political constraints. Negotiation is never purely international.